Um, okay. All right, the next item is to approve the previous meeting minutes from 8/27/2020. You guys should have received a copy of those draft minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the meetings?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Okay.
Okay. New business. First, I'd like to start with welcoming our two new members to the Public Art Committee. That's James Steele, prefers to go by JR, and David Valdez. They are here in person with us. Do you guys want to say anything?
Just happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. And James, I believe you were previously on the Public Art Committee.
Yeah, this is my second stint with the Public Art Committee, so I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties. Let's move on to Durant Little Dover Roundabout. One second while we fix the sound. Here we go.
Does everyone have their, everybody's muted?
Okay, is that better? Okay, great. Durant, Little, and Dover Road Roundabout, 3 artists were selected to provide site-specific proposals. That was Daniel Borup, Gareth Curtis, and the Milligan Studio. The Site Advisory Committee met November 17th to review and rank the site-specific proposals, and they ranked them in the following order. First was Daniel Borup, second was Gareth Curtis, and third was the Milligan Studio. Yes. And I will pull up their proposals for us to review quickly. I'm asking that the PAC review the rankings and comments and recommend an artist with whom to begin negotiations with. So let me see if I can pull that up. Um, do I turn off? Do I turn off? Let me know if you guys. Let me know if you guys can hear this video.
Knew that it was likely.
Amanda, in the essence of time, do we want to move to the next? We couldn't hear the audio, but we saw the visual of the maquette of series.
All right.
Just at the end, too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And this is the maquette that is being.
Are you sharing it?
I don't know.
Share again.
So this is Mr. Borup's model maquette that is being passed around the room right now. Next is Gareth Curtis. some of his previous work. And this is his proposal. Let me.
Okay, Amanda, need to keep it moving, I think. So, uh,
Yes. It's there. And he also sent in just yesterday some refinements that he had made that you'll see in the model that he presented. And then next was the Milligan Studio.
I have a question.
Yes.
Gareth Curtis provided a podium or a base for his statue. Did he just provide that, but there's a potential that Daniel Borup would have his statue on a podium as well? Or is that not in the budget for him? Is that a requirement?
Yes, Sarah, that is a requirement for all of the art.
Okay. Okay, great.
All right. And those were the three artists and their proposals.
Amanda, who was on the SAC?
On the site advisory committee for that, yeah, Georgia was on there. If you give me a second. Pull that up.
I was on there. Noelle was on there.
So we had Noelle, Lisa Ledbetter, she's a private citizen, Ethel Hill from Capital Programs, Megan Nixon, the commissioner's aide, Thomas Rawls, he's a project manager with Public Works, Mary Sheets, also a senior professional engineer with Public Works, and Georgia.
One of the things I'd like to let everybody know is that we just based it on what they had done in the past. Did not have the actual figures to review. So we were basing our discussion on what they had done previously.
At our last site advisory committee, they did have, I had photos of the maquettes. I couldn't bring them in, right?
Photos, but nothing that we could look at quite closely.
Is there, whose computers? Is there any further discussion on this, or are we ready to make a decision?
I do have a question about, on Daniel's piece. Is it 8 feet high from the base or from the curve of the base?
I believe the sculpture itself is 7 to 8 feet tall,
Okay.
with an additional 10-foot high
Okay,
base.
all right. All right, thank you.
All right. So at this time, do we want to rank these, or?
Well, I was just gonna say, if the SACs rank these this certain way, is there any objection to the rankings? And discussion needed, or should we take the advice of the SAC on this one?
I think we should have some discussion,
I think that it's,
a little bit. I mean, I think based on, I don't know why, the Milligan Studio one came out to me, when looking at it closely and more, better than a photograph. I just felt like it looked more like a cabaret figure rather than, Cersei's or something, that's dedicated to the industry, to the agricultural industry. So I immediately eliminated that one in my thinking. So I don't know about the rest of you. I'd love to have your comments.
I have comments about each one of them. I agree. I think the Mulligan sculpture is really awkward looking. Its proportions are way off on 3 sides. The front looks okay, but from the side and the back, there's like kind of not really, it doesn't look dynamic in any way, or like work in the round. And it like looks like it's leaning to one side, which is just, as a sculptor, makes me feel strongly against that one. I think the Gareth sculpture is nice, but it is way more static than the Borup sculpture. I like the fact that the Borup sculpture has the female figure is moving and not just in a sort of static stationary position, right? These are all incredibly, I mean, what's asked for in this are incredibly conservative kind of versions of public art, but at least like we can be progressive in the idea that like a female figure isn't just standing there offering fruit. She's in fact moving forward and has a sort of like command of the space and isn't just a sort of like open invitation. And I think that the Borup sculpture from in the round looks really nice. It's got this sense of like the twist, right, that you see in a Bernini sculpture, right, where the body is in a contrapose and it is sort of twisted so that every side looks like the front, essentially.
I concur on the Borups as well on this. That struck me as well, as the sense of motion is very powerful on this, in my opinion. And I like his twist on the modern, this modern version of a classical figure. I think it hits a lot of marks, in my opinion. Again, I wasn't in this, but just looking at it first impression, I think he's a little bit ahead and above the other two.
I agree. I think that just the aesthetic as a private citizen on this committee now, first meeting, thank you for having me. I think that the first option, Daniel did a really, really beautiful job aesthetically. I really love the almost releve on the foot, the rear foot. I think it's beautiful. I would definitely concur with the committee, these rankings here.
My only question, and you hit it, Georgia, was scale. I think that was, I don't know, I haven't seen the site or the site plan, so it's a little bit hard to comment on the scale of it. That would be my only concern. Does it get lost in that space? And maybe you all have seen the space and can comment on that.
How high is the base going to be again? 10 feet?
The base should be 10 feet, yes.
Okay, so yes.
So it's going to be 17 feet total or 18 feet total?
Yes.
Wow, that's good.
It's pretty large.
It's in a large roundabout, so
The base itself is 10 feet, is that what you
Yes.
said?
yes,
Okay.
that's what we asked for in the RFP.
Okay, are we ready to take a vote, do you think?
I
Any
think
other
so,
comment?
or a motion.
Just make a
Okay,
motion.
A motion to take a vote, or a motion to.
It's a motion to
accept
approve.
Daniel Borat.
A motion to accept Daniel Borup.
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. Please mask.
I'll second the motion on Daniel Borup's.
Are we voting in,
No, we just made a motion to accept Daniel Borup.
okay.
Any abstentions? Okay, we will move on to Durant Miller Road Roundabout. The site advisory committee met November 18th to review the site-specific proposals prepared by Linda Serow, Daniel Borup, and Curtis Gareth, or Gareth Curtis. And they were ranked in the following order: Linda Serow, Daniel Borup, and Gareth Curtis. Take a look. This is from Mr. Borup. This is an close model. This is really to show kind of what his technique for the bronze would be. This was for Professor Tusi. And that's a full scale model. And to do the, yeah.
I have a question about these projects, the Durant and Little, Dover Durant Little Road and this Durant at Miller Road. Is the expectation that the projects are, like, what are the timelines? What are the expectations for completion? Is there a break in, like, is one, supposed to start in May and the other one's supposed to start in November? Do you have any of that information?
Sarah, I can kind of answer that. So first, these roundabouts aren't constructed yet. So the first thing is the roundabouts have to, we would try to tie in the fabrication of the artwork with the construction of the roundabout. But there's a process after selection of getting the contracts executed and then of course the fabrication timing itself. So I think roughly 9 to 10 months is a good time frame to think about from how long it takes for them to get their fabrication done.
No, that's helpful. I just knowing that Daniel Borup is, in consideration for this one as well. I was curious if it was too much of a workload if we decided to move forward with him.
So, and they both mentioned that. I think there's a couple of them where they're in for multiple. And they all kind of mentioned that doing two projects at once is actually kind of ideal
Okay.
in their work.
And they're close, the locations are quite close to each other as well, you know, in terms of actual install. So just curious.
Correct.
Just in terms of that, one thing to keep in mind was that this Daniel Borup, I believe, said that if he got both commissions, that he would do a community outreach. Wasn't that correct?
That is correct. He wanted to go to the schools, I
So he wanted
believe.
to come down to Tampa and do community outreach, do demonstrations, do that kind of thing.
Yes, he wanted to go to like one of the local schools and do some outreach and kind of videotape his process in the fabrication portion and share that with the students and answer questions and yeah.
Amanda, for our new members on the committee, could you please tell them about the subject matter, because they may not be familiar with why we went, what about the subject matter for this particular roundabout?
Okay. So we have an ordinance that was a board policy that was put in place not too long ago to place public art in roundabouts. And the way that goes is any new roundabouts that come up, the commissioner in that district is provided an opportunity to say whether or not they want artwork to go in there and to kind of describe what type of artwork they would like to see. And so in this roundabout, it was decided that Professor Toucey would be, there would be a statue of Professor Toucey placed in here. He was the founder of this area, and that's what these artists have been asked to produce. Same with Durant, Dover, and Little. The Goddess of Ceres was requested to be the focus of that artwork, of that roundabout. And so those artists were asked to produce something for her. So I'll go ahead and continue this just for the first half.
We still can't hear the audio on our end for the video.
See, so I can show you.
Okay. One more time.
I don't know if we necessarily need to see the video. I'd love to see the other artist in consideration, just in the essence of time.
Yes, next is Gareth Curtis. Am I sharing this? No, I'm not. And he made some refinements that he sent in. Pull those up. Got it now. So one of the main refinements that he made was that he shows it without the orange tree in the back, as an option. So for those that were unfamiliar with Professor Tuesday, he was also a farmer, and that's what he was trying to portray with this orange tree, showing his connection to the orange groves.
As far as relation to these two roundabouts on Dover and Durant, are they within vicinity of one another?
Yeah, I just looked that up. They're very close to each other.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious of people's thoughts on, I mean, the two submissions that are more, I guess, traditional, I think would be the word I would use, static, if you will, even with the leg up on the rock. Then looking at the goddess Siri with that theme, if you will, and interest. Actually, at least in my opinion, the one that's ranked last, third, Gareth Curtis has got a very interesting approach to the subject.
Right. Yes, Gareth seems for me to tell a story. He has a piece of fruit in his hand, he has a shovel, he has a bag, either whether it's, seed, whatever we want to make up. And to me, it tells a story, but I'd have to stop and take a look at it. I'm not in a roundabout, driving about. The other piece, Daniel's piece, I like the foot up on the rock. The fact that he has a boot on to me was impressive because it showed that he was actually working. That he's actually does work on the farm or the ranch or whatever. But it's a tough decision on this. I mean, okay.
For me,
Yeah, let's take the other one.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'd like to open it up to discussion.
All right. Uh, this won't be a surprise for people who were in that meeting from the last time, but I found the Daniel Borup and the Gareth Curtis statues to be quite close in terms of my opinion of them. I thought that I had actually ranked the Gareth Curtis statue #1 when I was in this site thing, based upon the fact that I thought that the Gareth Curtis, the Daniel Borup statue almost looked like somebody who was involved in westward expansion, not someone who was involved in, say, founding a place in Florida, which is quite flat, right? It had this sense of like the foot up on the rock has a sense of being like somebody looking out over a precipice, something which we don't really have here in Florida. Whereas the Gareth Curtis statue for me had points of interest all the way around the statue. He's obviously a skilled sculptor and understands three-dimensionality, and had with this sort of like orange tree in the back, I thought provided an interesting view, not only from the front, but also from the back. And you see sight of his face from the back. So it doesn't really look like a privileged point of view when you're looking at him, or it doesn't look like you're looking at the back of a sculpture, right? You're seeing like the side of a face, you're seeing a different view, not the back of a sculpture. Whereas I found the Linda Serrano, I'm sorry, I'm not looking at her name right now. I found this to be incredibly awkward. I actually showed it to my roommate, who's also a sculptor, and he kind of burst out laughing because this is not a body position that anyone standing without leaning on something would be using. And if you turn it to the side, you can see how erect this is. There's very little there's very few points of interest in terms of like creating any extra sort of shape. And frankly, I mean, it looks like you should be leaning on something. I don't know what else to say about it. From the front and the back, it's got this awkward, unbalanced, it's in this position, he's leaning to the left. In the position from the front, he's leaning to the right. To me, this is clearly a less skilled sculptor, and it kind of has a sort of literalness that, especially in relationship to the Gareth Curtis sculpture, who actually kind of imagined this entire scenario and uses metaphor and uses that's the Daniel Borup, I think, but the Gareth Curtis sculpture, which uses kind of the metaphors of the tree and the planting and the shovel, and kind of looking into this orange, and you can imagine him like seeing the future in this like small globe that is an orange, right? That to me just is significantly more interesting than the Linda Serrano sculpture. But
I tend to agree with all your points. I mean, that was the first thing that struck me, was the canted shoulders. That doesn't make sense of that pose. And then I'm thinking about, in a roundabout, who wants to look at just a flat back? So from my perspective, the 360 interest on Curtis is, I think with the tree, but, again, that's something to be decided later, is much more interesting. And then when you think about it in relation to the Daniel Borup piece too, that movement, sort of the hand in the air and looking to the future, I think both of them sort of complement one another, even though they're stylistically different. So that's kind of my take on it as well.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Gareth Curtis' work.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. That was Georgia, you made the motion? And who seconded? Sorry. Noel, okay. Gareth Curtis. Thank you. And the last, or the next one is the Riverview Alafaya River Park. And the site advisory committee met November 19th to review and rank, and they ranked the three proposals in the following order. Daniel Horsechief, Milligan Studios, and Daniel Borough. Thank you. And this is his maquette. This is his proposal.
Wait,
This is it.
whose is this?
Daniel Borough, and the RFP asked for the artist to work with the Seminole tribe to put together their concept of an appropriate Native American person. Next is Daniel Horsechief. That's Borup. And at the site advisory committee, we did not have an actual maquette, so we just had his sketches. He later sent in a maquette for viewing.
Is this a Native American artist?
This is a Native American artist. And then lastly, is the Milligan Studio. And they actually sent in samples of the glass that they proposed to use in her clothing and her headband, her headdress.
What is she supposed to be doing with her hands?
Circle pieces. Pardon me, I'm sorry, Noel, what did you say?
What is she doing? Did they say what it is that she's doing?
She looks like she's drying her hair.
Is that what's going on?
No,
Okay.
I'm not sure. This piece was mainly focused on the wardrobe and the colorful. I do know that they were trying to celebrate the wardrobe and the colorful patterns that you can't see in the maquette, but that she proposes to do using a stained architectural glass. She would make this woven fabric with these vibrant colors. That was very appropriate for the Seminole tribe at that time.
On Daniel Horsechief, how high is the pedestal?
The pedestal would be 10 feet.
Again, 10 feet. Wow.
Yes.
I really like the panther. I like the woman, the Seminole woman, the mother image. And it's just, wow, the way it curves. It shows much better as being actually done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this thing is wild. It's kind of great.
It's beautiful.
I mean, so used to seeing in these applications things that are very, very conservative, I would say, in terms of their approach. This is not that.
Yeah, it's really, and for a park to be right there at the entrance of the park, I think, certainly near there, it's a wow.
Yeah,
I think the pedestal is very interesting as well. I mean, obviously the sculpture itself is very beautiful, but I think how he incorporated the pedestal to the design is just something unlike anything I've ever seen. And I appreciate it. I think it's beautiful.
I think also from my perspective, when we're dealing with artists and their culture and their community, it's extremely important, at least from my perspective, to look for Native American artists when you are doing a Native American artist piece. And no offense to the other two, they're very well done, but Mr. Horsecheese really does speak to the culture. So from my perspective, I believe he's Cherokee, he's not a Seminole, but nonetheless, I think that means something, and it would be, people who are going to see this, having a Native American artist is important. That's my take on it. Yeah, I would make a motion to go with the first ranking with the SAC on this one and go with Mr. Daniel Horsecheese.
And I'll second that one.
All right, thank you.
It's actually very stunning in person.
All right, next is County Center Lobby. The Site Advisory Committee met September 10th to review the call for artists and and now we are asking the TAC to shortlist those artists so that we could ask to choose the 3 shortlisted artists to choose to ask for site-specific proposals from. The Site Advisory Committee selected Judith Ingles, Robert Delgado, and Sandra Bryant, and I will pull them up. And for our new members, the project at County Center Lobby is to have a mosaic mural displayed in the lobby. No. No, I have them. It's what I have pulled up here. Yes, this is samples of their previous work.
And this is all glazed ceramic tile, handmade glazed ceramic tile, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Amanda, just to be clear, is this the same artist or several artists
This
we're
is the
looking at?
same artist. This
Okay.
is Judith
Judith?
Ingles.
Okay,
Not
thank
sure if
you.
it's the same. Okay, I will pull up the next artist, Robert Delgado.
Sorry, was there a drawing of her proposed
No,
okay.
no, they have not made proposals yet. We're
Oh.
selecting the 3 artists that we want to ask proposals from. So right now we're just going to look at their previous work.
Okay, sorry, I stepped out to let my dog out.
No problem. This is Robert Delgado. Oh, okay. Sorry.
What was that first woman's name?
Judith Ingles. This is Robert Delgado. And the last artist is Sandra Bryant. All right, and those are our 3 artists that the site advisory committee selected.
So interestingly, the last project I worked on for this art committee was the Tampa Bay Memorial at the History Museum. So that was her piece of work, that one there. So if you've ever seen it, it's beautiful and great artist to work with. Mr. Delgado, just again, he also submitted on the Tampa History Museum. He is sort of a known transportation muralist or mosaic artist. A lot of his projects are going to be at like rail stations or transit bus stations, those types of things. Just for, again, I'm just providing a little bit of context because I happened to work on this and both of them submitted. I'm not familiar with Judith's work, but that's what I know.
Personally, I find there's a certain
Right, then
kind of timelessness to Judith and to Angley and Bryant's work. Delgado to me just looks really dated, like stuff that was popular in the 90s and didn't really age well.
So do I have a motion on the floor?
I would like to make a motion that Robert Delgado be selected.
We need
Oh, no,
three.
this is the motion
It's-
for submissions.
Over submission, yeah, for submission.
Do we accept all three that the site advisement?
Yeah, I would accept all three.
And then you can actually see what they're proposing for the downstairs.
Thank you for clarifying.
So, Georgia, your motion is to request site-specific proposals from the three selected. Okay. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, that's our order of business. Next on the agenda is project updates, and I'll go through those quickly. The public art collection inventory assessment is underway. It's being conducted by our very own Georgia Vahue and Anna Juarez with Library Services, who is attending the meeting. Anticipation was to be completed fall of 2021. That may slip due to COVID restrictions of having access to all the buildings and things like that. I will keep you updated as we have an updated schedule. The Roundabout at Bomboyette, Giza Gaspar, he is currently fabricating the artwork for that. That is a bronze bicyclist that will go up in a roundabout in front of a new up-and-coming residential community. The roundabout at the Riverview Drive, which is in front of the Riverview Park, has already, again, that's the artist is Giza Gaspar. He's been selected, and his contract negotiation is underway. And we're waiting to get a full schedule on when the roundabout will be constructed so that we can get them coordinated at the same time for that. Carrollwood Village Park, that we're expecting to be completed in early May. The artist is over 50% done with his fabrication right now. Riverview Library, I've attached some photos of that. The stained glass is in. It looks amazing. I can't wait for the library to open up. The exterior artwork for Riverview Library is the benches, and that should be done at the end of this month. It is substantially complete at the time. The artist has a few more revisions to make on some of the book titles, and he will complete that this month. Annual maintenance of our bronze sculptures, Lady Justice, the Firefighter, the Molecule, and Judge Salsinas, will begin later in this month. Just waiting for the purchase order to be issued for that. And tentatively, I have the second quarterly meeting scheduled for May 11th. And I will send out scheduler and invitations for that if that is acceptable to the committee. And just one other thing that I didn't list here is that soon we'll be doing our update of the annual public art plan. And so we will have something most likely to present before our next meeting, I think.
I have a quick question, Amanda. At Julian B. Lane Park, we have the statue of like the trees over the water. It was completed, or it was decided right before I joined the committee. So sorry, I don't know more details about it. I wanted to mention there's no sign or placard around the who the artist is, the name of the work, anything like that. I'm wondering, where does that fall in terms of, getting something like that included with the work?
It falls with us. Now, there should be a sign. I actually was there when they put it in. It should be in front of the pier. It's not right on next to the sculpture, but in the landscaping, there is a post with a sign. It's actually fairly large, and it's about 4 or 5 feet tall.
Okay. I'll have to go back. I was around the sculpture, not outside of it. So yeah, I'll check, but was just curious about that. I was just there this weekend.
Yes,
Thank you.
so
I'll check it
that
out.
would be us. To answer the
Okay,
question, that would be
I'll
us.
check it out. If it's not there, I'll send you an email, but thank you for the update.
No problem.
Can
And
we
if
make
there
a
is,
motion to adjourn?
yes, thank you. And we will adjourn this meeting at 10:04. I will see you guys at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.